you first grew curious about the paranormal? Dare you dig deeper? You are listening to House of Asher.
Welcome to the House of Asher. I am your host, Steve Asher, and this is sort of a kind of a quiet night. I'm doing this first day of December 2020, and kind of a look back, kind of a personal look back, and it's been awful strange. It's I have changed residences, changed relationships, strengthened bonds with some friends and family, lost those connections with others. So this show, which usually touches on things about ghosts, it's going to be a little bit different. Now, it's definitely going to talk about ghosts, but it's going to be kind of touching on ghost of what was. You know, ghosts of the past. I guess you could say, if you want to say ghosts of Christmas past, that's fine, but just the normal things, or what we thought was normal, which really weren't. I probably should say, first of all, thank you guys for being patient with me. I've been hit and miss. I'm working several jobs now. And I need to make sure that everybody knows the Paranormal UK radio. Those cats have been great with me. You may be hearing this on Spreaker, iHeart, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, a bunch of different stuff. But most likely you're watching this on my House of Asher YouTube channel, which has come under attack recently. We've had people like bugging out over. I remember I did a show that was comparing Jawas from Star Wars to the little creatures that were in the old Phantasm movies, and even the Vampire's Assistant movie from some years back. The little hooded, creepy monsters, you know, and they got flagged for being inappropriate. I've recorded with several different metal and punk bands over the years. Fedheads, Rex 84, Coffin Flag, Camo Trooper, my kind of side thing that it was a little bit more personal, a little bit more gothic, called Stevie Bastard, which it wasn't the name that did it. It was just they didn't like the song. And it's strange how quickly people are turning on each other, which is human nature. People forget this. What we think of as normal, I'm going to go downtown, get my Starbucks, send a few tweets, look at some memes, and more or less, you know, consume, ingest, crap it out, do it again, is slowly changing. And the thing was, here in the U.S., and we have, you know, I'm lucky enough I've got listeners, you know, kind of across the globe. When I say that, I'm not saying it like I'm anything. I'm just a guy. But I do have listeners from different parts of the world. What America sees as normality is sort of an oddity. I mean, there are certain countries that have a higher gross national product and just all over better standard of living, which America is definitely dropping in that, which is alarming to me as an American. I don't have a problem with, obviously, countries getting along, and if we're ever going to move toward anything close to like a Star Trek universe where, you know, poverty and a lot of that stuff, homelessness has been taken off the equation. We're going to have to get along. But that's one thing. Touching on how we're living is, well, it's damn different. I know it was damn different for me. And I'm going to tell you my story, okay? And I hope it doesn't put anybody off. It's not my intent. But I'm just telling you where I'm at. Okay? So maybe some of you guys may relate to this. And if so, make sure to leave comments, especially if you're, watching this on YouTube. And please, it would be nice if you would like to subscribe, send to some friends. I'd appreciate it. But there are tons of other things more important right now. Started out the year, me and my wife of 25 years separated. And literally a month out, COVID dropped. Just boom. Now, we've seen avian flu, swine flu, cuckoo flu, whatever, come and go. And more often than not, at least in my circle and my small pond, it didn't do a lot. Obviously, bigger cities, I'm from a small rural area, that's more of that's a city problem. I don't mean that to be crappy, that's just what it was. You talk to a guy in New York about, there's corn beetles in Kansas, he's going to go, I ain't worried about the sticks, man, I'm in the city. Everybody's worried about a 3-foot area around them. I'm going to talk about personal space. People lived in personal space. But I digress. I went from my new home, actually just had gotten it paid off, moved into a fixer-upper is gracious to what I moved into. Pretty much a shell of a house. The people that had lived there before had just played hell on this place. Pulled out this and that, jerked out pipes. Honest to God, I think it may have been a meth house. For those who do not know, like stuff like methamphetamines, crack, are bad in rural areas, especially where there's not much money, not much job opportunity. A lot of times people self-medicate, and unfortunately, they get on that, man, and they're gone. They're just not the same people they were. I've not done that, but definitely when COVID hit, for myself, I try to stay positive and keep rolling. I went from working a pretty good paying wage, about probably 3 times what our minimum wage is. I went from doing that, a full week of that, Monday through Fridays, days, to working overnights at a job barely above minimum wage and 40-plus hours. So you're working longer and harder, and you're not making as much. So I'm actually going to take a second job, and I'm looking at possibly taking a third job part-time. So I'll sleep, I guess, driving back and forth between the jobs. No, I'm kidding. But that's what happened. A lot of people lost their jobs, so I can't sit here and cry. I do a lot of stuff with special needs people, and people are, how do you want to say it, differently abled, whatever euphemism you want to use, but they have issues. So anyway, that's what I do, and that's considered, what's the word they said, essential staff. So anyway, I'm an essential staff, so I didn't lose my job. So here I am, and we've had, I'm not going to say names, obviously, because of HIPAA, but we've had COVID here, and COVID scares at other places, and I've been swabbed to death. I've never tested positive for it. I'm not bragging. I do take precautions, but so far it's not been my chance. It's not been my number's not been called up. So again, here we go. living tighter. Went from a place with double pane windows to a place without windows that I literally had to put plastic up just to make it. This might explain a little bit why I've not been as active on my radio, and I apologize. But when the things like that happen, things of like, well, hey, is my radio show doing this and that, and as my books at, StevieAsher.com, plug, selling really well, becomes less of an issue, and it's more like, okay, A, am I going to keep my job? Am I going to catch this thing? And how am I going to eat? Well, obviously, being raised as a kind of a poor kid in Western Kentucky, I knew how to make it. I didn't like it, but I knew how to make it. And okay, this going to be a thing. It might be a little bit sensitive for some people. So if you don't want to hear this, maybe go listen to Joe Rogan or Bill Burr or some science program. But okay, I had a dumpster dive and use things like church giveaways and things like that. I'm not too proud. I'm not too whatever, because I'm going to survive, especially when I've got family to look at. But it's a heck of a change. You're going from 20 plus an hour to broke. And but you know what? I'm lucky. A lot of people completely lost their jobs, so please don't take it as I'm whining. But the skill set I had as a child come in handy, because there are some people who are screwed, man. They don't know how to try to grow anything. Oh, that's another thing I should say. Was growing things at home, trying to grow vegetables best as I could this year. The ground that where I'm at the little beat-up house isn't the best, but I tilled that ground and I did all I could, and I put what in the ground I could, and we got some stuff back, and I'm hoping next year will be better. And that's if we stay in that same location. But again, I was raised like a lot of kids in the 70s. You didn't have cable. You had an antenna, maybe. You had a TV, a fridge. If you're lucky enough to have a washer and dryer, at least in the neighborhood I was at, it was pretty poor. You're doing okay. Took a lot of showers outside in cold water, because we didn't have proper plumbing in the house. So that's what I'm back to. I'm at a place that's got a well, and thank God for it in a way, but it's sulfury. You can't really drink it. But taking baths and washing dishes and stuff like that. I say washing, not washing, but there it is. So it's like stepping back to like 1940s, 1950s. So, but I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about me, good and bad, in the pandemic. That's people are tested during crises, and this is no different. I talk to people, again, from across the globe that go through similar things. The hardest hit are those who have to be jammed up into houses because of quarantines in cities. And me personally, I want no part of a city. I barely want anything to do with the one I got nearby. I'm about 10 miles out of the closest town in the country, so that means no phone lines. That means no satellite, cable, nothing like that. So any information you get off your phone or word of mouth. But it's a lot of people's. It's changed them. They've changed their mentalities. It's changed their trust of people. It's changed their. This is, I'm from a smaller town. You see somebody, sick or coughing or something, or sitting on the sidewalk, they look despondent from whatever. Most people kind of go, "Hey, you all right?" Nah, not anymore. It's changed the soul of the place, and it bothers me. And it's an unfortunate truth. People are going to protect themselves, even if it means pushing somebody outside. That's human nature. But since all this has went down, in the last month or so. I've had two of my children contract the COVID. These two live with my ex, who also has got the COVID. You can insert your joke here, but I'm trying to keep a decent relationship with my ex because, we are co-parents on it. And we got to be. Got to be freaking adults. And so I try to take food over there and do, whatever. They need a bill paid or something. I try to help cover stuff for them because right now they're in quarantine. They cannot leave. And I'm just praying that my youngest child doesn't contract this because he's immune compromised. And it's spooky. It's real spooky. But fingers crossed, we're getting around the corner of it. I'm hoping. Where I live in Kentucky, COVID is just slamming through people. This thing that went down with my family happened in a matter of a week or two. And so it's super scary. But I wonder what's going to happen. As some of you guys have known, we had an election in the U.S. not long ago. And I'm kind of a centralist. I'm not really Republican nor am I a Democrat. I can see elements that are not the worst in both, and I can also see elements that are complete garbage in both. I'd probably be closer to a libertarian, but I definitely think we have a responsibility to help our people. So, anyway, we will see what happens with this new guy. I forgot the name of the song from The Who, Meet the New Boss, Same as the Old Boss. Was it Baba O'Reilly? I don't know. If you guys know, leave me a link in the comments. But we'll see what happens. There's talk of pushing the the minimum wage up from I think it's like $7.25, $7.50 to $15 an hour. Which I'll take it because the place I work is barely above minimum wage. I like the kids there. I like most of the staff. But you ain't going to get rich on it, and you're not going to... It's not a living wage. That is absolutely not a living wage. Even when I was making about $20 an hour at my job, and my then wife was making somewhat close to that, dealing with our son through a program, money was out the window. Stuff's expensive. You got kids. I had 2 kids in college. Actually, technically 3. One living off from the house, but 3 kids in college and whatnot. It's expensive. And so now the brakes are put on everything. Things are distant learning, which I don't have a problem with distant learning. I think they should have had a thing where you would have an email or something with the day's curriculum for people who have computers. And yes, I understand some people still don't have computers due to economic issues or religious issues. But overwhelmingly, a kid's got a cell phone. Overwhelmingly, at least the people I know, they have some way to get internet access, especially if you're living in a city and go down to the library or something. But I've never understood, if you ever seen programs where the students, they're sitting there and they're listening to a lecture or whatever, and there's a hologram shown on something, and then they go, here's your little discs, whatever, you take this home and do your homework and submit it. That's next generation stuff, kids. That's where we're heading. But you do hear conspiracy about, and when I say it, I don't say it, I say it with a term of endearment, because sometimes conspiracies are straight up that about, this is a reset. This is to get us ready for a cashless economy, and more or less, once your rights are gone, you don't get them back. We're going to go into some sort of not a dictatorship, but just it's going to be a controlled movement society, and I hate that. It really scares me for my kids and my grandkids. A kid grows up in that, they're not going to be this. Not to say they're not a child, but you don't quite get over that, because I've talked to people who's lived in very oppressive types of regimes, and you don't, you just don't quite get out of it. It's just like people that's come through a depression. You know, my parents were products of that, and these guys were like saving, geez Louise, go to McDonald's and ask for 5 extra things of ketchup and 5 extra things of that, and take a handful of napkins, or go to this place. You know, if it's free, take it, because you may not know if you'll be able to get something tomorrow. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. My daughter jokes because I will have like a stack of Subway napkins, or I'll have 3 or 4 extra straws in the wrappers just for in case we need them. It's a survival mode, and people are starting to get that it's survival mode. But I'm doing my best to keep positive and make it where people know that I'm not trying to be an exclusionary individual and trying to be open to people. But we're so friggin' divided, man. You know, you got what do they call it, like Proud Boys, Rude Boys, or something. Then you got like Black Lives Matters, and you've got all these different type of groups that are kind of at each other's throat. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to take care of my family. I don't want anybody hurt, but I don't want to be told that I'm garbage because I'm not of your, race, and I'm not of your economic strata, nor am I of your religious, religious beliefs or sexual orientation. We have found more and more ways to be divided, which keeps our energy, what do you want to call it, your chakras, whatever, it's very low. It's very low vibration. And I think, at least for me, I can get caught up in it. I really don't watch news. I deal with people one-on-one. And I'll keep up a little bit on some of the COVID stuff, but for the most part, I just go about the business of living and raising my family, because that's normal. That's what's normal. And just like everybody else, I'm trying to find ways to lower my bills, find a cheaper insurance, find whatever, because I have to have insurance. So I don't know. I mean, I worry for everybody. I worry for you guys, because I know everybody's got it rough. So I know here in the U.S. we're still hoping to have some of the stimulus money that was promised, which we all pay taxes in. I don't really see it as a handout. I mean, if we can bail out a lot of big corporations for trillions and trillions of dollars, we can get a little love too. It's not going to hurt anything. But I do wonder, in whatever part of the world you're in, how you're managing. Have you found some little tricks of getting around and stuff like that? And as I'd mentioned earlier on, one of the things that we started doing, and it initially started out as we could find plants and potting soil and things like that maybe busted open that places would throw away. And then you would notice some places like, they're throwing out perfectly good gardening related stuff, work gloves and this and that. Similar thing at some stores, grocery stores, and have found where they've thrown out like how do I say this? You have a Best By date, and then you have your sniffer and common sense. Sometimes we'd find heads of cabbage that are stilled up, not in anything gross. It might be in a garbage bag, within a bag in a trash. I'm not above washing it and using it, not by a long shot. Have lucked out and found hamburger meat and things like that, not grade, not gross, not nothing, still cool to the touch, where they had put it out. There's been occasions I've done that, and probably will again. We don't have any sort of county or city ordinances about it, and in Kentucky, it's as long as it's not, as I understand, behind a gate, behind a fence, behind a lock, or there's signs saying, not allowed to do this and that. Once things go in trash, it is public. And this is true of your own garbage. So you always watch on those movies where mobsters are being checked out and they're trying to find out if someone's cooking up drugs or something. They go, wow, man, they're sure going through a lot of cough medicine. Or, they're using a lot of D batteries. And, that's how they find out information. Little notes, this and that, where you're going. Detectives do the same thing. So be mindful of that. But obviously they're going to be able to find that on your phone too. So, whatever. Just try to be a good person and try not to leave an easy trail for people, regardless of what you're doing. But, so yeah, it is a different world. It sure is. Is there a skill that you guys have developed? Maybe it's you've had to make yourself more social to interact with people, for you to barter and do things and get items. Have you maybe worked on your bushcraft, roughing it out? If you go roughing it out in the woods and just like that. What about different ways of foraging, collecting food and things like that, or just different things, different money-saving things? I would love to hear that. And like I said, I know this is kind of a different episode, but you know what? That's okay, because that's what I want to do. There's plenty of time to talk about ghosts and dark entities and Ouija boards, which I think all of that I think is super cool. But right now, that's just not my priority. Right now, I am in survival mode. Okay, this is survival, and not to over dramatize it, but it's just where we're at. I really want to hear some success stories. I know you got some horror stories, and I guarantee there's some listeners out there as well as family. And God, I'm sorry. I'm in a position where I'm hoping that I have 2 of my kids in that one home get better. And I'm not much of a religious guy, but I'm, if someone wants to say a prayer, I'd appreciate it. But time will tell. But I want to hear your success stories. I want to hear something's good has come out of this. Something you said, well, if this hadn't went down, we wouldn't have been home and this wouldn't have happened. Because, you can find a positive in most things if we try hard enough. But I definitely want I want to hear that. Also, I was going to say, if you guys have some suggestions for shows, if you have some suggestions for guests, if you yourself want to be a guest, let me know. Because as this new year, comes into view a little bit better, and hopefully the goodness, this COVID thing is crushed, and we can get some immunity against it. 2020 will be a bad memory, but I have to look at it in the positives. It has challenged me. It has taken me out of being complacent and really appreciating things. Simple things that I wouldn't have appreciated a year ago. Just because, I'm saying, life becomes insular, and you can really get lost in your own head and caught up in your own BS, and that's anybody. And obviously doing this little show and being a writer and all that, it's easy for, and I'm doing air quotes, artists to get into their own into their own stuff. But yeah, this was definitely a wake-up call. But it's about our time, guys. So I do want you guys to please love each other and stay strong. And I want you to get out there and enjoy the day as much as you can. But as the sun sets and the shadows grow long, make sure to check under your bed, down that back hallway, out toward the edge of the woods where strange noises come. Keep your eye out, because although there's fear, there's learning in fear. But remain positive. And please, whatever you do, don't be afraid to be afraid. Stay scared, kids. Talk to you next time.